FTEs. Puzzles I couldn't care less about. Huh. One of the worst games of the last generation? Really? I don't think so. I just want to point out that Vampire Rain exists. Yeah, I love Jim, but I don't think I agree with that so far. But again, I've got to play more of the game. Video Gamer said the same thing. Digitally downloaded kind of seemed to like it. I have to wonder if anyone reviewed the PC version. Probably not. They're pretty slow when it comes to that stuff. GameStar gave it a 69, Game Informer gave it a 65. Ah, if you have the option, definitely play Yaiba on PC. Textures, resolution, frame rate noticeably better. Okay. Interesting. Yeah, I think this is going to be... I wouldn't even say this is one of those agree to disagree moments, but I do need to play a bit more of it. It seems like there's obviously quite a lot of criticism leveled at the enemy variety and what it does to you later on. So it looks like they may have front-loaded this, and the difficulty may end up being kind of ridiculous later on, and it might be very, very cheap. So apparently it's not very long. I don't know how long exactly. Jim didn't even bother to finish it, so... just kind of weird. I know there's another one that mentioned it wasn't too long either. So I might just be able to beat it in one sitting. It depends how ridiculous the difficulty gets later on. Camera angle could be a thing. I do hate reviews that say, yeah, it's not the longest thing, and then just don't mention how long the game is in any way. Okay, La PS3 also said it was short. Yeah, I can't suddenly Skype Jim Sterling. He has a real job. Bear that in mind. What do they have to say about it? I'm just trying to... oh, God, that's in Spanish, actually. What's the Spanish for hours? I just want to know how long it is. Few hours? 8 hours. 8 hours long. Okay, well, I mean, it doesn't look like there's any replayability either. There's definitely no reason to buy it for $60 for that, but... huh. When is he showing us video? There's the guy who just tuned in. Alright.
Where is Hayabusa? And why isn't my foot up his ass yet?
So we're back to this nonsense.
They'll know where he is.
Strange that none of the reviews mentioned the checkpoints. That's like one of my biggest gripes. Alright, let's get back into it then. I wouldn't say the combat has a great degree of skill in it, but it's certainly damn satisfying, and there's a hell of a lot more to it than Castlevania had, I'll tell you that for a fact. Yeah, the camera does suck, there's no doubt. Also, zombies are just flat-out boring enemies. Oof. But you can do that. I definitely appreciate. The PC port does seem to be the best version. I mean, playing this at 60 FPS is a very fast and smooth experience. And obviously, since I don't have the PlayStation version, I don't know if that camera option's there. Probably isn't. And I have a feeling that the camera may have been an awful lot worse on console than it is here. That's actually a possibility. But, Jesus, I mean, look how fast this fucking thing goes. There's a lot to be appreciated there. I think the executions are kind of terrible because they're just canned. I'm not sure if I clipped through that or not. That could have just been airborne. The camera does suck, though. There's no doubt about that. I'm not going to buy Yaiba on PS3 just to make that call. That's not going to happen. I can ask someone that has this on PS3, and they can tell me. But I'm not going to buy a PS3 game that I have no intention of playing just to find that out. It doesn't matter anyway, because here's the thing, right? It's just more of a case of curiosity more so than anything else, and like personal confusion. It's not actually relevant to the review. Assuming I even did that. Like, if you do any piece of critique, it should be in the void for the most part. You should be able to separate it in a vacuum away from every other critic, because their opinion isn't relevant, only yours is. And you shouldn't be allowing other people's opinions to influence yours, because it can end up not being your honest opinion. It's really that simple. Throw the zombie into the steamroller. Why? Alright, okay, he's doing that. Well, I suppose that makes sense, doesn't it? Like how the zombie was just somehow confused and concerned about all of that. That's amusing. Yeah, music's back on, it's just incidental, it's not on all the time. I still don't hate it yet. I will definitely play a good few more hours and then see whether or not that is actually true. I mean, I'm not awful at spectacle fighters, so, I mean, that may help. And you know what? Like, the whole idea of just throwing so many enemies at you also has its own degree of satisfaction. I understand that... I wouldn't even treat it as a Ninja Gaiden game. The game is not Ninja Gaiden, it's Yaiba. Yeah? It is Yaiba. It is not Ninja Gaiden. It is not pretending to be Ninja Gaiden. It's by a different developer. It's even got a different art style to it, so I don't think expecting Ninja Gaiden out of it is necessarily reasonable. But I also simultaneously don't think that it needed to be called Ninja Gaiden even as a subtitle. Just call it Yaiba or something else like that, but I guess less people would buy it in that case. And the problem is you open yourself up to criticism based on the franchise there, and that's valid criticism. And I have played most of the other Ninja Gaiden titles, and this is definitely not as good as them. But it feels different. Like, none of those titles felt like somewhere you could just kind of go apeshit. It was all about precision. You were always worried about each enemy. Here, you know, it's the exact opposite of that. It's just cathartic slaughter all the time against enemies that kind of can't deal with your absolute rampage that you've got going on. And it's just glorifying. It's just this massive glorified power fantasy. And there's a lot to be said for that in video games. Some people might say, oh, well, it's puerile. It's puerile. Yes, some video games are. I also like to watch some puerile movies. There is little cultural value in the Expendables too, but it was fun. Definitely a sale game, though. I'd never pick this up for $60. Not for 8 hours with very little replayability. No chance in hell. Did I level up in the meantime, by the way? I'd like to get some more skills if I did. So you see there's armor resistance down the bottom there, which I just have this feeling that might become rather key later on. Oh, I actually have 2 points that I can use. Great. Let's see. Ooh, 8 new combos and that. I think it's just like, unlock all new combos, surely. Hold Y to charge rock. Okay, fine. You just gave me a rocket arm. I'm okay with that. Alright, let's see what it does. Go away. Oh, wow, that's pretty fun. We're saying something about some death QTE, but I haven't actually seen that yet. I'm not really sure what they're referring to, honestly. It's like, hey, there's a QTE on the death sequence. Is there? I don't see one. I haven't seen one up to this point. Very strange. Yeah, some of these enemies are definitely tricky, but I feel that's my own personal fault rather than the game being cheap. At least up to this point, anyway. But it's hard to say. It could get even worse. And these checkpoints are fucking stupid. Now, alright, here's the thing about Dynasty Warriors, right? Which is why, you know, I find, like, Jim giving this a 1 out of 10 and liking Dynasty Warriors to be a very odd thing. Dynasty Warriors' combat system is fucking terrible. Like, there's so little variety in it. Compared to that, this game has massive amounts of combat variety. The number of combos that you can pull off is ludicrous. Whereas in Dynasty Warriors, there's barely any. So I don't know, maybe he just prefers the aesthetic and the theme, but this is Dynasty Warriors, basically. There's very little difference between the two outside of the theme. It's a Slaughterfest power fantasy with no skill involved, for the most part. That's exactly what Dynasty Warriors is. So, yeah. The camera's not great in Dynasty Warriors either, by the way. I have to say that. Rocket Punch! Because I have one. Hard to argue with that, really, isn't it? Yep, I'm having difficulty empathizing with those complaints outside of the fairly obvious point that the camera is god-awful. Oh, that thing? No, they were talking about a QTE on death, which is really strange. Maybe it just means on the death of the monster. Maybe I was just misreading that. Once you learn what the monsters can do, it's easy enough, I think, to deal with them for the most part. You just have to be careful. There's a kind of weird difficulty spikes, I suppose, one way or the other. But I'm not getting this whole unresponsive vibe. Like, are you kidding? Yaiba's ridiculously responsive. I mean, he even cancels out of combos at times that I wouldn't even expect him to be able to. I'm not finding any issues with the responsiveness at all. Ah, I missed the execution. That sucks. Oh, let's back out of that. Like, all the health that I'm currently losing is because I'm playing badly. But yeah, I mean, definite like huge difficulty spike between, oh hey, you're fighting arenas worth of zombies versus, oh hey, you are fighting these bastards who are fuckloads more difficult. Also, if you miss the initial execution, you apparently have to beat on them for a lot longer, which is kind of weird. Yeah. I don't know if I call the bosses cheap. I mean, they telegraph every single attack they do. But it depends how many they throw at you later on in the game. If they throw 5 or 6 at you all doing the same thing, then I imagine it's going to be extremely difficult to keep up with that. I don't get the non-responsive argument, though. I'm not getting that at all. But then again, you know, if you're playing console games on the last generation at 30 frames per second, then of course they're going to be non-responsive. That said, that's no excuse. You know, the developer releases a game on a platform, it should be suited to that platform. So if the game's non-responsive at 30 FPS, that's the developer's fault. But again, if you want to play games in 2014, you should probably play it on a PC and not something so ancient that smartphones are getting up to that level of power. I don't know, it's difficult to actually hate this anywhere near as much as those guys do. I definitely think the dialogue probably didn't help, and frankly, you can make dumb dialogue without resorting to stupid sexism, you know? And I could deal with a certain degree of that and say, alright, okay, they're trying to make him out like he's an anti-hero and he's a dick. I mean, they've certainly succeeded in making me believe that the character I'm playing is an absolute arsehole and I have no sympathy for him whatsoever. I'll definitely give him fucking due credit for that. That said, you shouldn't necessarily be condemning a game based on the fact that it makes dumb sexist jokes. Because a lot of games make dumb sexist jokes. And yeah, I know, it shouldn't be commonplace. Yeah, I get that, but it is. Especially among Japanese developers, although Spark Unlimited isn't. They're just aping one. I don't see it as a good enough reason to condemn the game. I'm more of a gameplay-focused kind of person, you know, like a normal person would be. You know, I'd love to say that, but that's not actually true. Like, normal people are not gameplay-focused. They're taken in by stuff like story and characterization. Jesus. When I started playing games, none of those things existed. And I've maintained the belief that gameplay matters more than anything else to this very day. And I don't think that's a belief that I am going to be getting rid of anytime soon. There we go. Yeah, if you don't nail those executions at the right time, then you are fucked, because it seems like it's the only shot you ever get to do it, and the zombie has a lot more health beyond that. There we go. See, I mean, that's how you deal with the bosses. You just have to not suck. And remember what the block button is. Not being left trigger. 170 hit combo. It's pretty satisfying. And I got a gold for that. Yeah, I'm getting the hang of the combat system. I mean, it's not like it's different to most other combat systems. It's just block, dash, and 3 weapons. It's really not tricky. Okay. Seems useful. What else do we want to go for? Punch opener. Yeah. So basically, I'm unlocking everything, which is giving me a bunch of interesting combos. A and Y for powerful leaping punch. Yep, we'll go with that. That works. And that does that. Which is kind of awesome. Easy peasy. Don't want to be anywhere near those. I have a feeling combining those suicide guys with anything else could be the most annoying thing in the universe. The environmental puzzles are lacking. It looks like they just respawn the zombie every time as well. And I'm probably going to have to end up leaving my nunchucks, which is disappointing. What on earth is going on with that? Well, you'd think you'd have to knock it onto the fire to put it out, right? That would make the most sense. That's clearly not the way to do it. I could rebind the block button, yeah, but I'm kind of getting used to it on right bumper. Since... I don't know, I think left button might be a better idea. Left trigger is the button that I think I'd want it to be on. I'm not sure if I can rebind the controller, though. Only the keys. Yeah, this is all under keys. Yeah, you can't. It's fucking annoying. As weird as it is, I generally don't even bother with it, but... in this case, I'd actually like to just switch the key binding around, because I'm just finding it a little awkward. Maybe you just jump over it while that's happening. I suppose. Environmental puzzles are unnecessary. Try not to put them in your game whenever possible. Jesus. I have no bloody idea what I'm doing. Ouch. Suggestions, ladies and gentlemen. And yeah, I agree with the person that just said in chat, apparently positive change equals hypocrisy. Now, alright, here's... we're gonna have a little discussion here, okay? Here's the problem with the internet. The internet keeps a permanent record of everything you've ever said that is very easy to search and accessible. Now, in the past, this really wasn't the case, and as a direct result, it was possible for people's opinions to actually change over time without them being branded a hypocrite. Unfortunately... people on the internet do not understand. The idea that something someone posted at one point may not in fact be representative of who they are now. And there are many examples of that, myself very much included. I've said some incredibly stupid things in the past, and I've got to live with them, I've got to own them, but they don't represent me now. Even some, let's give an example. 2 years ago, by the way, and I got attacked on Reddit for this, quite recently, in fact. I said something stupid about Smash Bros. Melee. I said it was a party game and I don't take it serious as a competitive title because Nintendo doesn't either. Yeah? And about a year later down the line, I watched the Smash documentary. And that changed my opinion on it entirely. I also watched Smash at EVO. And it changed my opinion on Smash Bros. Melee entirely. And I realized a couple of things. The first thing being, of course, that Smash Melee is actually a very competitive title. And it has a vibrant scene surrounding it with some truly skilled pros. And that should be celebrated. And secondly, the fact that you don't necessarily have to design a game to be an esports title in order for it to be an esports title. It can actually develop over time organically. You can even design a game with party elements, and it can still be a competitive title if you want it to be. And, that was just an example of something that I've changed my mind on. And people have called, even though I've actually recanted this like days ago on, the question came up on Unfiltered, and I went public and just said, look, I was an idiot. Like, I was completely wrong about this, and here's my reasoning. And people still like, oh, he's a hypocrite! And there's plenty of other examples of people doing that. You have to understand time. Like, you have to respect time. If someone like Jim Sterling said sexist stuff like 5 years ago and now doesn't, and maybe now is more sensitive to games and media that actually portray sexist attitudes, that doesn't make him a hypocrite. That means that he has learned from his experiences and it's changed him as a person, just like everyone else in life. If you go through life and don't change based on your surroundings and the people that you meet and the media you consume and everything that you learn and understand as you grow older, you're a fucking robot. Like, you're not a real person. Real people change their minds all the time. And if you are stubbornly set in your ways, that's not something to be celebrated. Some people seem to believe that that is integrity, that that's principles. He's standing by his principles. If you stand by your principles in the face of overwhelming evidence that you are fucking wrong, that makes you an idiot. And it actually is one of the main reasons why we have so many stupid problems, not only in the US, but in many other countries to this very day, because politicians stand by their principles, even in the overwhelming face of the evidence. Vaccine deniers stand by their principles and get people in New York infected with fucking measles. Kids dying because they don't want to vaccinate their children because they refuse to change their mind. Stand by your principles. It's my principle that I believe that the Earth was created 7 days, and as a direct result, some other bullshit. Stand by the principles in the face of overwhelming evidence. I don't believe in climate change. Climate change is a fucking lie. Stand by your principles in the face of overwhelming evidence. I'm sorry, we're celebrating this. Why? Be very, very happy when someone can change their mind. And more to the point, when they fucking admit it. The problem is when that person pretends that he never believed that in the first place. Then he's a fucking coward, and then you can call him out on it. Yeah? Then you can call him out on it. And there's the wonderful thing about the internet as well. It's all on record. It's all on record. You can see it everywhere. You can't delete something on the internet. Once it's out there, it's out, and you've got to fucking live with it. If that person admits they were wrong and changes their viewpoint, give them a pat on the back and not a kick in the fucking face, please. I'm gonna take a break if you don't mind, and I will be right back with more Yaiba Ninja Gaiden Z. Alright, folks, welcome back. Let's do a little bit more Yaiba, shall we? As silly as it is. We're still sort of digging through, trying to find the same complaints that some of the other fellows came up with. And right now I'm stuck on this bloody environmental puzzle, so for the love of God, help! Help! I don't know what's going on with it. I assumed... I'm sorry, I've just paused the game here while I'm just moving some windows around on the monitor. There we go. I was assuming that you hit that, and the question is, like, what do you do after that? That's my wonder, because it kind of swings back. And it goes into a cutscene, so you clearly can't throw two things at it. You'd think that you would have to try and whack it the other way around. It doesn't seem like there's another way around there. If I go down to the... I mean, maybe it swings the other way if I jump and hit it? No, that doesn't work. I left my zombie down there. How unfortunate.